writing. So they say abnormal situation brings about abnormal circumstances. It's because of the situation of the country that we just find ourselves like this. We called for a conference and we are these minute, and eventually when we want to know the truth, we are still fighting, arguing before we get to know the truth. So I think if someone will go out from here, we can picture a lot of things. It's a kind of inspiration to write something, articles, poems, and even plays and the likes. So, and that will take me to my discussion today. By introduction, human nature has been about creativity. We tend to bring out novel ideas and thoughts on every endeavor we engage in. Thus, many things are considered to be done strategically to achieve the best result. In as much as man lives, their creativity will help them grow, will make them, will enrich them, and even exploit and extort their world. Just like what happened the other time. We said the library, but the speaker is actually from the National Library of Nigeria. He has presented himself based on how the National Library works, right? But probably the situation of the country is not just justifying what he has presented. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's why I say our creativity will either extort, we use to extort, and we still use it to exploit. That's what I mean. So we are just like a tailor that will use his machine to eventually sew different styles, use clothes to eventually sew different styles of clothes. We are like a how can I put it, a shoe cover that will use leathers and the like to build different styles of shoes, and just like a painter and uses his paint to even design a house in a different way that would look attractive. That's more like being creative. But before that, I would just have to say this, that creative writing, because that's my main topic. Creative writing is a hands-on, interactive exploration of non-fiction, poetry, playwriting, and fiction itself. So learning to write creatively is like learning to sing, learning to sew, learning to repair, learning to mend, and so on and so forth. So in that, the writer is similar to a singer, because a singer will want to sing creatively, just to captivate the listeners. And we have a tailor. A tailor will want to sew a particular cloth to impress the person that will wear it, and the people that will see that cloth on him, just for referral. Then as well, like a mender. So in being a instrument, we are all the instrument of whatever we want to be. We factor whatever we want to become. So that's as a creator. Now, before I move into the discussion proper, there are some things we need to know, but because of time, I'll just mention. You can go through that. But before that, creative writing, unlike any other type of writing, that will be discussed at a later time, has its specific way of communicating its content to us. These ways are employed uniquely and differently based on the competence of the writer, or based on the competence the writer possesses. Actually, the focus of creative writing is quite different, and as it is formed to amuse people. The creative writing is just to amuse. Literally, it's just to amuse. And let me just say this: when we are talking about creative writing, we are talking about literature. Traditionally, it is referred to as a literature. Now, all other importance, that is, when we write creatively, we still educate. So all other importance, like educating people, then even to provoke something out, is just by the way. So to achieve this, writers have to make use of their language in such a way that will address things creatively. So I have some listed terms here. Probably at a later time, I'll forward the file to where we can get it. So we have action, we have alliteration, audience, author, brainstorm, characterization, climax, conflict, description, develop dialogue, drama, exposition, fantasy, and the like. All these will still be explained in a particular concept at a later time. So rushing through that, what is creative writing? Creative writing, traditionally referred to as literature, is a form of writing that comprehends a number of different genres and styles beyond the more formal scope of academic or technical writing. Creative writing focuses on elements such as character development, narrative, and plot, infusing its structure with imagination and story. Imagination and story. Underline that. Creative writing is an art of making things up. It is written to express one's original and expressive thoughts. One's original and expressive thoughts. It means that I can eventually develop a story on my own, or I may want to tell a story of myself or what I eventually felt. You know, someone said he felt the truth. He felt the need to even tell the truth, right? Even if he will not be acting that truth. But the fact that he has to say it, he needs to say it. That's just expressing one mind. But to make it creative, that's when you use some creative terms. Though I've skipped them the other time, but we'll still have to address them one way or the other. But before going further, in a broad view explanation, when we're discussing general literature and general, giving a broad view definition of literature, we won't just go to literature as a kind of a writing that mirrors life. No, we have not as a broad view. Now, literature can be multi-bladed. It can be in different forms. I mean, three forms. Let me just say three forms. You can have it as a CAP. When we say CAP, I mean content area presentation. You can have it as newsreel. You can have it as creative presentation. Now, as far as CAP is concerned, that is content area presentation, we have writers in all these three categories. But writers that write for content area presentation are the type of writer that write solely for a specific specific something. Do you get specific purpose? Like they are the type of writers that write for schools. They write on mathematics, they write on biology, they are writing on that. They want to teach a particular thing, a particular subject. That's why they write on a particular content area presentation. Now I want to talk about newsreel. Newsreel has to do with telling story, but not just any story, real stories. And we can have newsreel